What's going on? This is But I'm Not Wasted. I am your host, Zach Wolf. This is the podcast for lovers and makers of music. Let's go. What's up, buddy?
They warned us of the birth and pains, that many would be led astray. Heaven and earth would pass away while we suffer for the name. He said you'll know it's coming when you hear of plagues and uprisings. It's the beginning of end times. You'd think we'd stay awake for the return of the Christ, but it's easier to keep sleepwalking, so be merry and drink wine. Go ahead and distract your mind and walk by. Ignore the war raging outside. You're searching for something to drown out the battle cry. Well, don't ask me to sing you no lullabies.
Hey. Let's go. Crowd noise. What I love about hearing you perform live is every time I always feel like I'm hearing a recording of it. Because you're so good live. I'm not just saying that to be like, oh, you're just being a kiss ass. And I actually mean that. Like, I feel like every time you sing, I'm always like, damn, it's just the CD. It's just like I almost said the CD. Just dated myself, folks. I was born in the 90s.
What's that?
Yeah, what's that? Earlier, I was referencing the 90s, and Bella goes, I wasn't born in the 90s. And I was like, oh my God.
I didn't exist yet.
She didn't exist yet. And I was 8 at the beginning of 2000, folks. So do the math. Anyways,
actually don't.
Please don't do the math. Really embarrassing. Isabella Erardi, everybody. This is her second time on this podcast. Super stoked to have her back. The episode did really well. A lot of you guys wanted more. So
hey,
we're doing it, baby. We're doing more.
Hello.
What was that song called? Tell us about the song if you can.
Yeah, so that song was called Lullabies. I've had it written for a while now, but I haven't recorded it yet. I'm saving it for a special album.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That I will be the producer of?
If the Lord persists.
TBD. Also, while you were talking, I was like stretching out my face. My face felt kind of weird, so the viewers probably just watched you started talking, and I was like... So that's what that was. My face felt like frozen for a sec there. That was weird.
He makes that face often. Yeah. It's an issue. It's a
cat thing.
That he has. Yeah. I'm
half cat. Sorry. So keep going. That song. What's it about? Give us some background.
Yeah. So I just wrote it. I was doing a really deep study of the Gospels at that time, and Matthew, I think it was 24, really hit home, and it just kind of stuck with me. It's Matthew 24 is all about Jesus talking about the end times and what it will be like, and how people will be just like eating and drinking and enjoying their lives up until the very last moment. And he warns his followers to stay awake because you never know when he's coming. And I took a look at that, and then I also took a look at the state of our world currently, and was like, wow, like this is such a timely message. So I challenged myself to write a song with only 2 chords, keep it and make it interesting.
Let's go.
And
I love it.
And wrote about that, and I just feel like, yeah, it's a timely message for the world that we're living in, even if you know the end times aren't near. Like there's so much going on.
Things are crazy for sure.
Yeah,
right? Crazy.
Yeah. We need to stay awake, and we can't just like keep scrolling on social media and numbing our pain and numbing like the things that we see going on around. Like we have to like, don't ask me to sing you no lullabies. Like it's time to wake up.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, I love it. That's so good. So good. Yeah, such a good song. Your voice sounds amazing as always. And was the chorus the same chords? Just those same 2 chords?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, cool. I don't even think I noticed it because the transition was so like...
I mean, I do a lot of finger picking to like...
Yeah. And I like he did the dun dun da 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 dun da. Yeah, so cool. I love it. Awesome.
That'd be a cool loop pedal song.
Yeah, super cool loop pedal song. Well, welcome to But I'm Not Wasted. I don't know if I already saw that, but this episode is going to be me and Bella kind of just like riffing a little bit. We just kind of wanted to talk. I was trying to prepare questions beforehand, but I feel like everything I prepared felt kind of stupid and cheesy. And obviously, if you know me, I don't like like I'm very trying to be really vulnerable with everything I do, and then pretty like not fake. Hopefully, is it like at least how it comes across? I don't know if I'm saying this well, but you know what I mean. I'm not a cheesy guy. Hopefully, everyone's like, you're super cheesy, bro. What are you saying? I'm like, damn it. But yeah, just wanted to like talk, and we kind of started talking about like just everything going on in the world today. Obviously, President Trump almost got murdered a few days ago, and then there's like, it's so funny because like
wild times,
not to like whatever polarize things, but it is funny because whenever something happens politically, it's always so funny to me how it immediately becomes this like fight. Like I was literally like waiting for it. I was like, okay, if something happens on the right, then immediately I know that like there's going to be this reaction of like, well, even if that was bad, what about this thing? And like vice versa. If something happens on the left, then there's like this weird, everyone's so angry right now, which is so stupid.
Yeah.
Like there is right and wrong. There is truth and lies. I fully believe that, but it's funny how everything is so like high conflict. But with that, speaking of this, we are so distracted. That's what I was thinking about earlier. Like, why are we the most distracted people like in the world right now? Like, where is that coming from, do you think? And also like, yeah, because I feel like in the last 5-6 years, like we're so addicted to everything now, right? And like we can't even like be present in the, like I can't even be present in the room myself without feeling like anxious if I don't have my phone with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm curious what your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, if I'm gonna be honest, I think all of us are a lot more like spiritually intuitive than we let on, than we actually like believe about ourselves.
Yeah.
I've noticed over the course of this year, especially with it being like an election year, and people are just naturally getting a little more anxious, as if we can like feel something on the horizon that's going to happen. And I think like even if you're not like a spiritual person, I feel like that statement, like I feel like we're on the brink of something big that's going to happen in the world. I feel like all of us can feel it, and I feel like that will resonate. Like I feel like that just resonates. Like I feel like we're all waiting for something. Like there's so much tension going on in the world right now. We're all building up to something that we don't exactly know what. And seeing all of these really scary news headlines, like we were living in crazy times before, but now with like a literal attempt on the former president's life, like it's real. Like it's real now. Like we can't deny it any longer. Yeah. And so I found myself doing this morning. Like there's actually like a guy who prophesied that Trump would be assassinated. It's like going viral right now. I
saw that, yeah.
Not would be assassinated, but like would.
That like bald dude, right?
Yeah. Wow. Like he like said that it would go through his right ear, and like he would narrowly escape as like being assassinated. And so I was like, my friend Carly and I, we were like going kind of nuts over it, and we were
Classic.
like, yeah. And so we were like, wow, like this stuff is real, and I was just like scrolling through like some of the other things that he had prophesied, and it's just like, wow, like some scary stuff that he's prophesied. And naturally, like, it's stuff that you don't want to believe. It's stuff that you're like, yeah, like we're not there yet. Like we're not on the brink of another war. We're not like, yeah, but it's easier just to like scroll and
totally
forget. Like it's easier to just like, if you're Christian, just like go to church and listen to a good message and kind of walk away from church, like, focusing on other things instead of like what the Lord is really like pinpointing that's going to happen in the world. And because it's scary. I mean, naturally, you just want to look away. You don't want to face it. But I fear it's getting to a point where like we're going to have to face it at some point. We're going to have to be prepared, or else it's going to come out of nowhere, and we're not going to know how to deal with it. Yeah.
No, that's really good. And like I think we really probably are the most, I'm sure we are, like scientifically speaking, probably the most distracted, addicted generation of like our time, of history, right? Because like obviously with the advent of phones and technology and even like the internet, but now the internet and like the world in the palm of our hands, we have access. This is like obviously redundant, but we have access to everything. But we're like not actually learning anything. We're just consuming everything all the time.
Oh yeah.
And it's like this massive distraction culture. Even if it's like neutral, like beyond that, there's like deeper things, like, you know, it's like there's porn on the internet, like there's all these things that are actually like destructive to like the human psyche and spirit. But even if you're just scrolling all the time with like stupid memes, that's still like numbing your brain. You know, like I think there is a huge, I don't think anyone would disagree whether you're a Christian or not, or whether you're like political or not, or Republican or Democrat, whatever. I think people would really agree that we're so distracted. So like first thought you're saying is because we're kind of maybe afraid of like facing what's going on. But second thought is like, not to be all conspiracy, but to be all conspiracy, like what are we being distracted from? You know what I mean? Like why? And I'm kind of asking like less rhetorically, why are we being distracted? You know, like I think even the viewer probably listening is probably like, oh yeah, like we are so consumed. Like why? What are we being distracted from? You know? Well,
I mean, if you watch the news, regardless if you watch like CNN or Fox or like whatever, it's universal. Like if you just like notice something major that goes on in the world, let's take like the Hawaii fires, for example, like huge news when it first happened. And then after like a week or so of like these headlines, you'll something, I can't remember what it was, but like there were other headlines of like just as jarring information coming in, and it took the eyes of the media off of Hawaii and what was going on and onto other things.
Yeah, I remember that.
They come on with other breaking news, things of other like crazy things that are happening. And like since that, like I mean, I don't know how Hawaii is doing right now, and that was an absolute catastrophe. And I think like they do that on purpose to take your eyes away from like certain things that are happening. I wouldn't be surprised if like after this assassination attempt, something major happens to distract from the aftermath of the assassination attempt. Like people still want answers. People want to know why there was a shooter allowed within 100 and something yards of President Trump. There's a lot of unanswered questions, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if like something drastic, you know, was reported on the news to take our eyes off of that ongoing investigation, you know?
No, I think you're right. And it's so funny. Like those are two things that I've noticed with like the news cycle is crazy things happen. And it's like everybody in the world cares about this one thing. And then it moves on like a week later. And then it's another crazy thing. And then there's no time for us to process it. No time for us to draw any conclusions. It's just like thing after thing after thing. And then also, everyone listening, this is like depressing. We're going to build to a point where you will feel hope at the end of this, I promise. But we're painting a real picture of the world. Also, this isn't connected to music at all. This is literally just our thoughts. So that's what this podcast is going to be, just so you know. So please stay on. But yeah, like, you know, I think this is real stuff. So it's good to talk through. Like, so like there's thing after thing after thing. And then the other thing I've noticed, kind of like I alluded to earlier, it really bugs me how, I mean, I don't know how to say this well, but everything is so politicized. You know, it's like even the fires, like there's always this, like, this is this person's view of it, but then there's this right view of it. And like everything gets so like, it's always about who's right in the argument. And that really bugs me. Cause I'm just like, you can literally predict it. I knew it with like the assassination. I was just waiting for like certain friends of mine that I'm friends with on social media who post a lot of like more things politically than I do. Like I knew, I was like, okay, when is it coming? Like this argument on the other side, like when is the thing that's going to be like, you thought that was bad, well this was really bad. You know, it's just so dumb to me. But
I think it's fair to say that on both sides, like on both sides, like people want to justify why something happened the way that it happened to reaffirm their own political views. Guys, it's like regardless if you're like Republican or Democrat right now, like I think the bigger issue here is that we need to unify and not be so divided, and not like, you know, look at things that happen from our own political lens that we've created, but to look at like what really is going on and what do the facts lead to. Like I really feel like strongly for especially America right now, we need to unify behind the truth and we're not concerned more with being right than we are than being like finding out what the truth is. And that's true for both sides, because both parties are guilty of hiding truth. Both parties are guilty, and both parties have truth to them. Gosh, it's like it's crazy what we're going through right now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, it's crazy. And like, I love what you said too, because it's funny because like, obviously you know this because you know me on a personal level. Socially, I'm very open about my political beliefs. I'm definitely not apolitical, but on social media and stuff, I'm pretty silent only because I'm really, I think it's so important to like, and maybe that's wrong with me. Maybe I should be more open about what I believe, but I think, like it's so important for me to think like, what are the mountains that we're willing to die on? And what are the things that like, what are the bigger things, you know, that we should be focusing on as people? Like obviously like I'm never going to not talk about Jesus on my anything. Like Jesus is like it for me. And that's something that's obviously like there, but sometimes political stuff, I'm like, I don't know if I need to share this or not, but so, okay, how do I word this well? Distraction is going on. So we're all like lost in the sauce of like chaos and social media and like everything, the internet, everything that's going on. So what should we be focusing on? What is like, if we could pull back and if you could just point everybody, like where does our focus need to be? This is an alley-oop right here.
the fact that Zach is 5'11" and not 6 feet.
Okay, Bella, you get out of my house right now. Here's the thing. I just want you guys all to know on my driver's license, it says 6 feet, baby. And that thing is correct. Okay?
Jokes.
I might be 5'11.85. But I will never admit that on the internet. I am 6 foot. 6 foot till death. There's one of our friends, Colby. He's also a little more taller than me, maybe, and he also says he's 6 foot. And so
Colby's 6 feet.
What do you think he is? Do you think he's shorter?
I don't know.
Who's taller, me or Colby? Actually, now that we brought this up. And for the people out there, who's funnier? We've been debating this as well.
I actually don't know.
Come on, Bella. Don't hold back. Colby's not going to see this. He doesn't.
I feel like you guys are
the same height.
Okay, I always thought Colby was slightly shorter than you, but I don't know.
Oh my God, yes!
But I don't know if that's true anymore.
Okay, no, Colby is shorter than me, and Colby is a verified 6 footer, so that makes me 6'1".
No.
And look at me, I'm like not slouching. Ever since we started this part of the conversation, I've literally been
I'm
sitting
6
up
feet.
straight.
I'm 6 feet.
God, my upper torso is huge, is it not? Sitting in the weirdest position.
I don't know. I think you guys are the same height. I don't know. He'd have to be here for me to know.
So anyway, I'm taller than Colby. That's what she just said. And who's funnier, me or Colby?
Oh no.
Come on.
I'm gonna start some wars.
That's fine. Go ahead and say it. I won't bother something.
You guys are funny in different ways.
That's such a girl answer. That's what every girl said so far.
But it's true.
It's not true. There's always the truth, and that's not it.
No, I feel like, well, you guys being around each other, you guys make each other funnier.
That's also what every girl has said so far too.
None
of my friends will be honest with us, or either Colby's funnier and they're afraid to say it to my face. She said that's my honest answer. Ladies, work on telling the truth. That's my advice for you. I am funnier than you, Colby, and I don't care if you never watch this podcast.
Okay, fine, Colby.
Fine, Colby, whatever. Not cool. All right, anyways, if we're not... Okay, what was the question? You answer whatever question you want.
We were talking about the fate of our nation, and then all of a sudden we're like, who's funnier, Colby or Zach? What's your beef with Colby? That's the real question.
My beef
here.
is that Colby's one of my boys, but I just want to know who's funnier and who's taller, so I can just have that in the back pocket.
So you can know who's the alpha?
A little confidence piece.
Is that what this
totally,
is?
Yeah, it's neck to neck right now. Who is the alpha? Zach or Colby?
You know what Colby would say right now?
What?
Son.
Son?
That's how he asserts his dominance. He's like, son.
Yeah, and I'm like, Dad? Oh my God, why did I say that? I just hit myself in the tooth. I've done that like 3 times. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I literally keep hitting myself in the tooth this podcast. Love this mic right now.
Wow.
Okay, so what are we're distracted. What should we focus on other than me and Colby's height difference?
Okay, I think, well, for starters, like it makes sense that we're distracted because I don't feel like, I mean, we're living in a new age where it's like the news is fairly new compared to the rest of like time. And it's
That's a good point.
We're living in a time where like we know everything.
Invented in the 1980s, Ron Burgundy, right? Invented the news, isn't that right?
I have no idea, dude.
Yeah, she's right. It's an Anchorman reference. Sorry, people out there. She hasn't seen it clearly.
But yeah, we're like living in this time where we, at all times, we know instantly what's going on in all parts of the world, and that's never really happened before. And it puts the human brain on overload, knowing every single wrong thing that's happening from the local level to the global level. Like, you know who got murdered the town across the street from yours, and you also know like, you know, that Trump almost got assassinated, and also Hamas and Israel and like all these crazy things that are going on in the world. Like, I don't feel like the human brain up until this point. Hey, Mr. Garcia. Oh God, there it is.
Oh. She did. Come here, buddy. You guys can't see him because he's out of the shot, but come here, buddy. Or maybe you can see his tail. Come here.
Hi.
Come here.
He's so cute.
Hi. Hi. Okay, I'm gonna try to pick him up.
That was so cute.
Don't run away. Sometimes he'll like come and want to be social, but then as soon as I try to hold him, he runs away.
Were you expecting that to pop into the screen when?
Probably not. This is Mr. Carson, everybody. He's my cat. He's a British long hair. He's 3 years old.
I could so see him having a British accent.
Yeah, he's a little bougie little guy. Hi, buddy. He loves being in front of the camera, just like his dad. He's like, this is where I belong, on the camera.
Yeah. But anyways.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense as to why we're distracted, just because there's so, like, we're exposed to so much, and our brains are constantly on overload. But I feel like what we should be focusing on, I don't know, it's definitely not the news at all times. There's so much going on in the world, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it's good to be informed, but not to just like be consumed by media all the time so much that it clouds your judgment on like everyday things. Yeah. Because I mean, if we like are constantly watching the news and we're like letting it influence our thoughts and opinions and our actions, like that's where division is caused, because it's very well known that like the news channels today, like they're pressing an opinion of their own opinion that might not be the actual truth. It might be a version of the truth. It might be like bits and pieces of it, but at the end of the day, every news station, regardless if they're leaning right or left, like they want to push an idea onto you. And it's important to like recognize that and to watch the news through that lens, and not let that affect you from everyday life, and not let that affect you from having conversations with people you disagree with, or even like maintaining relationships with people that you don't entirely agree on their things, because like, yeah, we don't want to create echo chambers. That just creates echo chambers. And we become so disassociated from the other side of the argument that we almost like dehumanize them in a way. We're like, you think this, and it's already happening. Like you see on like so many different issues. It's like both sides are like, how could the other side possibly think like this? They're so evil. Like they're so like, you know, and it's just like, wow, like has America gotten really to this point where like we can't even have like a basic conversation, like a basic loving, edifying conversation between two people who disagree on an issue? Totally. Yeah.
No, I love that. And honestly, like I feel like it's important to keep people in your life that do disagree with you. Like honestly, I have friends that are like hella liberal, and I have friends that are hella conservative, and I'm definitely hella one of those things. But like,
you're a conservative, Zach? Why am I here?
Get out, Bella. Get out of this podcast. But when you can't like be in a relationship with people that don't agree with you, or like, you know, have conversations, it's like so funny to me. I'm like, I don't know. It's just not the main thing, right? So like, what is the main thing then? I think like, you know, I think for me, and I know this is for you, obviously, Bella, too. I think that's why focusing on God is everything, especially in how crazy the world is now. Because like without like Jesus as the anchor of my life, like I don't know how I would do life, you know, like outside, even like if things weren't as crazy as they are, but especially because things are so wild, it's like, man, like without a true north and without like a compass for truth. And, you know, it's hard because people hear that and they associate that with like immediately like conservative politicians, but like try to zoom out from that. Cause like, even if there's like,
Jesus was around way before conservative politicians.
So. Yeah, totally. He was around way before America, all those things, you know, and like Jesus was like, you know, whatever. So yeah, just to step back, like I think for me in this season more than ever, I've just been like, man, without like the gospel, without like knowing who Jesus is, like what's the point? Like there's nothing that's stable. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, like so reminiscent of Ecclesiastes, where it's like, you know, there's a time for joy, there's a time to mourn, there's a time for this and that, like, and also enjoy your life, because you never know when what you have will be taken away. Like it's so it's so important to know. And like really the only thing that you come into this world with is the Lord, and the only thing that you leave with this world is the Lord. You don't have anything else. And so, yeah, it's like so important to like keep that in mind throughout your life. I mean, we go through life and like we are on this conveyor belt of life. Like,
wait, pause. My screen turned off. I want to make sure that it didn't stop recording.
Okay.
Sweet. Sorry, we're on this conveyor belt of life.
Yeah, we're on this conveyor belt of life. We're like, go to school, go to college, like get a degree, and go like get a job, get a house, like have all these milestones of like what our life is supposed to look like, especially in America, where it feels like everyone has these like success milestones that they feel like they need to hit to be successful. And it's like, my gosh, if we get wrapped up in that, and we get wrapped up in like the state of the world, and oh my gosh, what's going to happen to me and my family? Like, are we going to have food to eat? Like, grocery prices are insane. Like, what's going to happen? And we really do have to take a step back and realize that like there is a higher power over this nation, over your family, over the world, and he is sovereign no matter what. It doesn't matter who is president, it doesn't matter what war is going on. There is a sovereign Lord, and he will be glorified no matter what. And that's what this life is truly about. Like it's not about like we go through the motions of life, but really like all of our actions point to something greater. All of the affairs of the world and the things that go on point to something greater, and it is a spiritual war that is going on. That anything that happens in the physical is just a reflection of what's going on in the spiritual. And at the end of the day, the Lord will be glorified, and it's up to you. Like, when you live your life, are you going to recognize that, or are we just going to continue to be asleep and to only recognize the physical world and what's going on? But I feel like the veil has gotten really thin lately. Like even with the assassination attempt, everyone is talking about, like, even people who don't even believe in God, they're like, how Trump, like it was almost like the bullet had already been shot, and he instantly turns his head like this. Yeah. It was like
he's a robot.
It was like it was a jerk, and you see like these graphs online of like, if like his head was turned here, the bullet would have been here, and he turned his head that, and it just narrowly misses his brain. Like that, I mean, it's the statistics on that of like him surviving a shot like that. Like I really feel like people are starting to like introduce the possibility of God into their lives, like simply because of things like that are happening now, where it's just like, there's no way, like, whoa, this was perfectly set up. You know, like there's no way that he should have survived that. Like,
come on. That's crazy. And like, honestly, with that, like, you know, I think something we kind of prayed into last time at the end was like, for people that don't know God, like, you know, there's like, God will reveal himself to you, you know, like there's so many verses in the Bible. It says, in Hebrews, I think it says, he who comes to God must believe that he exists and that he rewards those that just diligently seek him. And then also, there's a verse where Jesus says, if you, like the Amplified version of the Bible, which is a translation of the Bible, it says like, if you seek me, like if you like seek me with your whole heart, basically, it says, I'll make myself visible to you so as to be clearly seen. That's what the Amplified version says. And really, like, God is not far, you know, like God came in Jesus, Emmanuel, and he's so present and tangible. Like my own story is that I grew up in the church. I was like a pastor's kid, that whole thing. And, you know, it was kind of like a silent battle, but I had like this period in my life where I kind of stopped believing in it, where I would say I believed in Jesus, but I also was like open to other options, where I was like, well, maybe Jesus is like a God, and maybe Buddha is like a God, and maybe there's like other things out there. And I prayed, I remember like my last prayer that I prayed, where I was like, okay, Jesus, if you're God, you'll show yourself to me. And if you don't, then nothing will happen. And I can just go on with my life, like kind of as like agnostic or whatever. And so I prayed that, and then I stopped praying. And for about 3 months, I was super depressed. And probably like my family doesn't even like know this period of my life super well, because it was very like internal, and I kind of just was like pretty discouraged, because I was like, dang, I don't even know what I believe anymore. I kind of was like embarrassed, to be honest, because I had, you know, so much of my life was in like church and stuff. but I stopped trying to do anything. And then I remember I woke up one day and I felt this like presence in my room. Like I felt this like literal, like just, I can't describe it other than it felt like there was like a person in my room and they were like kind. And I remember just being like, like that's interesting. Didn't really do anything with it. Honestly, was like, legitimately was like, this could be Buddha. This could be something else. This could be Jesus. I don't know. I wasn't going to define it. And it happened every day for about 2 weeks. And every day it got stronger and stronger.
Whoa.
Where honestly, it was freaking me out. By like the second week, I would wake up in the morning.
There's a man in my room.
No, literally, it would feel like that. Like the same amount of like intensity that you feel if you wake up and there's someone like in your room that you didn't expect to be there. That's literally what I would feel.
Who are you and what do you want with me? Your soul.
Yeah. That's exactly it. It was like a what's that Christmas Carol Scrooge movie or whatever, you know? It was like that. Like it was intense. And I remember I wasn't going to define it, but I just remember it felt so kind. Like it felt like the nicest, like the most like safe person I'd ever met. And then I remember like the beginning of the third week, I woke up and I felt that feeling, that like presence in the room. And then I heard, Jesus is God, Jesus is God, Jesus is God. Like not audibly, but almost like where it was so loud in my like heart or like head, for lack of a better way to say it. Like it literally felt like someone was talking to me saying like, Jesus is God, Jesus is God. And then after that, I believed in like the soul divinity of Jesus. I was like, all right, Jesus is it for me. That's it.
Yeah.
So I'll just say like, God will totally reveal himself to you if you ask. And even my prayer was pretty weak. I kind of was like, well, Jesus, if you're God, show me. And then I was like, if he ain't, nothing's going to happen. You know, so I would challenge you guys, if you're feeling that kind of chaos of this season, like just ask God to reveal himself to you.
Yeah. We challenge you.
Yeah.
Challenge. Actually, like, yeah, ask him. Like, just ask him. If he's real, he'll respond, right? Like, if he's an audible God, he'll respond, right? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, we think, I mean, there's still so many Christians who are trapped in this belief that God is just the words on the page. Like, and that he doesn't still speak to us.
So boring.
It's just so not true.
Yeah.
It's just so not true. The gifts of the Spirit are real. I mean, like the Lord does speak and continues to speak. And I mean, like even with the prophecy, like, you know, about Trump's ear and everything, like how did that man know? You know,
yeah, totally.
unless an intelligent being told him what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Like someone who manages time.
Yeah.
Like, and can see the future, told him what was going to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. Yeah. And I was going to say, like, I've even seen, like, you know, so many, you said gifts of the Spirit. Like, I've seen so many tangible things, you know, like I remember probably the craziest experience I ever had with like a tangible thing happening was, I was in a Mexican restaurant in LA and like this like taco place that we would go to. And there was a dude sitting by the counter. And I remember I saw him and I just had this really strong impression. And it was in the same tone that I was describing that voice was earlier, even though I think this was actually before that time when I still was like walking with the Lord. But I heard like right knee, there's something wrong with his right knee. And so anyways, I like got in line and then lo and behold, this dude just starts talking to me from like where he was kind of chilling. And I was in line and we just started like doing banter back and forth, which is common for me. I talk to everybody everywhere I go. I'm pretty social, but I just was like talking to this dude and whatever. And then he starts like pouring his heart out to me. He's like, yeah, man, it's kind of been a hard week. He was like, my girlfriend's like in jail or something like that. He was like, yeah, I was like really going through like all this stuff. And anyways, I was like, oh bro, that sucks, man. And then at the end of the conversation, I was like, this is super random, but is there something wrong with your right knee? And I hadn't seen him like limp or anything like that. So it's not like I just saw it and guessed, but he's like, yeah, actually, he's like, I fell off a ladder like a week ago. He's like, I think I broke it. He's like, I can't even bend my knee at all. It's like totally like locked up and super swollen and stuff.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, bro, like, can I pray for you? Like this random dude at this restaurant in LA. And my friends that I was with were actually embarrassed and they like left. Like they like didn't really want to be associated with me at that point, which I get it. It's kind of weird. And so they like walk away and then I like get down and I like put my hand on this dude's knee and I pray and I don't feel anything crazy. Nothing happens for me at least. But I asked him, I was like, did you feel anything? And he's like, bro, it's the weirdest thing. He's like, but it's super like numb right now. He's like, I was like, is that normal? And he's like, no, definitely not. And then I was like, well, try to move it or something, bro. And he goes like this and his eyes get super wide. And he looks at me and he's like, no way, bro.
Dude.
And then I swear, this is 100% a true story. He runs outside of the restaurant and starts running laps in the parking lot, comes inside,
Oh my
and then
gosh.
he worked at the restaurant, and he starts yelling to the dudes in the kitchen, Jesus just healed my knee. Jesus just
Wow.
healed my knee. And his coworkers literally were like, shut the F up, homie. Like, whatever, bro. Like, they didn't care. But he was like, no, Jesus just healed my knee.
Wow.
And then he comes up, and then he was like, I want to give my life to Jesus. And then we like prayed this prayer,
Wow.
and he gave his life to Jesus.
That's amazing.
It's like God does real tangible things, you know. It's not like we're not serving a dead God or
Yeah.
an idea of a God or just like a 1,000-foot crutch to placate life being hard. Like, it's real, you know what I mean? Like, God does real stuff. So
wow, that's incredible. Wow.
yeah, I was actually, that's probably the coolest testimony I have of like a crazy God moment that I literally could never deny. You know what I mean? I could even like decide to go back on my faith just to be an idiot one day, and I would just be lying to myself because I'm like, well, I've literally seen God physically
Yeah.
heal somebody. You know?
Yeah, you're too far in.
Yeah, I'm too far at this point. Yeah,
Yeah, that's incredible. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, God likes to give me dreams, and
Nice.
like I didn't realize at first that he was giving me like premonitions of things that would happen.
Wow.
But I would just like, have like this really vivid, crazy dream and be like, oh wow, what a nightmare. like, and just like wake
That
up
was
and
crazy.
go about my day. But there was this one dream that I had. And I remember waking up after it being like, that was so specific and that was so weird. But I just kind of wanted to forget about it because it was kind of wacky and I just didn't want to remember it. And I was like, okay, I'll just go about my day. But for months, that dream stuck with me. Like, like a lot of dreams, like you just kind of forget, but that dream stuck with me. And, the dream was that I was driving in this, black sports car. My family had a Dodge Charger at the time, but it wasn't that. It was a different black sports car. And I was driving on this narrow 2-lane road through trees, and I was on my way home, but all of a sudden this big black car started following me. And
Scary.
yeah, they were
like
they were like coming closer, and like it got to a point where I was like, okay, these people are following me. So I put the pedal to the metal and was like trying to get away from them. And
She racist. Let's go.
yeah, in my dream. And I go up this path through this 2-lane road. I turn a corner and I'm not losing them. And I realize like I have this feeling like if they catch up to me, like they are going to kill me. It was like really surreal. And I remember in my dream making this U-turn, like this really drastic U-turn in the middle of this 2-lane road and almost going off the road so I could like pass them on the other side and escape. And this dream was happening at sunset. Like the sun had just set, the sky was still like a pink purple. And I've noticed that like when in my dreams, when like there's a foreshadowing event happening that's bad, it's always like nighttime is coming.
Interesting.
And so, yeah, I woke up from that dream and I was like, wow, that was awful. I hope I never experience that. And
I hope I never experienced that.
Yeah.
Let alone you. Oh my God. Imagine how I feel over here. I'm freaking out.
Yeah. So,
Just kidding. I care for you too.
like a couple months after I have that dream, I did, and I like before I say all of this, I did not realize that was a premonition until after it happened. So a couple months later, my brother buys his first car, and it's a black Camaro.
Oh no, Frankie.
And
He's a bad dude, folks. He's a bad dude. No, I'm just kidding. He's awesome. He's the best.
he buys this black sports car, and it's like sleek, and I only saw the inside of the car, but it was like it wasn't like the Charger. It was like kind of a little bit smaller, a little bit sleeker, and it matched the description of that car. And one night, probably like a year after I had this dream, one night my brother, who never does this, like randomly decides to just like go out for a drive and like go like grab like a smoothie or something and come back. Like that's not normal for him. Like he never like, he usually is like going out with friends, but
he's kind of a loser like that. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, it just wasn't normal for him to like go out on a random weeknight and be like, I'm gonna go out for a drive.
Sure, yeah, totally.
So he goes out and lo and behold, this black car starts following him. And it's this big black car. It's at night, so he can't tell if it's like a truck or if it's like a Suburban or something, but he just knows that it's like this big black car. And he realizes that they're following him. He's like trying to alert people as he's driving by, and they're speeding way faster than they should be on this road. And he like turns onto this 2-lane road through trees, goes up, makes this crazy U-turn.
What?
And as he's like making this U-turn, like, and he's like passing the car, like he's making a U-turn and the car's like passing him right here, like they like are rolling down the window and they're like cursing at him and screaming at him like, get out of the car, get out of the car.
What?
Like, they were trying to carjack him.
Oh my gosh.
And he like narrowly escapes them and like thankfully is able to lose them and like get back home safely.
That's so scary.
Yeah.
And you dreamt all that.
Like after he explained what happened, I was like, oh my gosh, I had a dream that this would happen.
Yeah.
I just thought it was going to be me.
Whoa.
So ever since then, like I started like, I have a dream journal now. I like write down all of my dreams. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, wow, God speaks. How did I know that would happen unless an intelligent being who knew, who orders time, like, come on, told me, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, crazy stuff.
Whoa, that's so cool. If you ever have a crazy dream about me, please tell me in advance. She's like, you and Mr. Carson will be famous poker players in Las Vegas. I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
God is real.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. Mm-hmm. So like tying that all together, like one thing, I guess. How do you see music playing into that? Mm-hmm. Like what is like music look like? It's a better question. What's our role as artists and as people that are like trying to bring and like build influence in the music industry? Yeah. Knowing everything that we just said, like what is our what is our role?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it's so much more than just singing songs that you wrote and like playing in front of a crowd. Like, yes, that dream is valid and you deserve to have that dream. But with all of this other context in mind, like we are not just fighting a physical war. We're fighting, not just fighting a political war. We're also fighting a cultural war. And there's a lot of tension in our culture. So many people, like as we were just talking about, like people don't even want to like have a conversation, much less an actual relationship with someone who doesn't agree with them. And it's very nerve-wracking to see that kind of behavior in America, where we should be like loving democracy and loving the right to believe other things, you know?
That's good.
So like as musicians, it's our responsibility to take a hold of that and to write music that unifies our nation, and with a unifying message that even if you're just writing like a breakup song, like I even in like my breakup songs, I like to like either point out my wrong in it as well, or like, you know, not just all about like revenge and like getting them back and like painting them as a wrong person, but like my keys into the side of his pretty little city. But like even in that you haven't
Shout
not
out
saying
Kelly Clarkson.
That's not Kelly Clarkson.
Shout out Taylor Swift.
Carrie Underwood, bro.
Shout out Carrie Underwood. Third time's a charm, baby girl. Carrie, you're like, watching this podcast.
Not saying that like every song has to have this like deep meaning behind it, but like every song that you write, you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to make a statement. So good. And I, like, personally, I want to take that opportunity as many times as I can. So even if it's talking about bringing unity into a breakup song and talking about our wrongs on both sides instead of vilifying the opposite side, like, I'm going to take the opportunity for reconciliation every time. And I think it's really important too. I went to this event called Parallel Society. They're local here in San Diego. They were affiliated with Light Church, not so much anymore.
Parallel Society.
Yeah.
Those people.
No.
They invented the tricycle, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the tricycle riders used to call themselves. They're amazing. I love that. The Parallel Society. Oh my God, such a fan.
Well, they're like a community of artists, and
okay, that too. Yeah. Not the inventors of the tricycle. Oh, those are the The Tricycle Society, common misconception.
Misconception.
I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Keep going. Yeah.
Because you still ride a tricycle.
I'm a tricycle guy. You should see me. I have 3. They're big. They're those cool like kickback ones. You know, those like big Harley ones with the big old flames coming out of the back.
I can see that.
Yeah, I'm a tricycle guy. Tricycles to death.
But anyway, there's this community of artists, and one of the speakers one time, I'll never forget what he said because it's so important. And I think back even to like when I was in grade school, like studying the world wars and stuff. Like if you wanted to get the people's opinion of you to be favorably, you don't do it by force. You influence them with culture. You influence them through music and art and propaganda. And that was true for Hitler on World War II. It was true for Vietnam. I remember like learning these things like in high school where like we were studying like the Vietnam War, and when communism entered Vietnam, like they forced all of the singers to start singing propaganda, or else they weren't allowed to like continue their practice as a musician. So like what you sing, regardless if you think if you have like a big voice or a small voice, like your voice truly does matter, and your voice truly does influence people much more than they think or you think. It's incredibly important. And there was actually at this parallel society, I can't remember what war he was talking about, and I wish I did remember, but there was a war at some point in history where it was called like, I think it was called like the Bloodless War or the Bloodless Revolution or something like that.
You're thinking of a Lord of the Rings scene.
No.
With the Uruk-hai in the second one. The Battle of Helm's Deep is what she's referring to.
No. This actually happened.
Oh, okay. So did Lord of the Rings, Bella. Why would you say it like that? That actually happened. It's my favorite war historically. The Battle of Helm's Deep. Anyways.
Okay, bro.
I feel like I made it over here. Big Lord of the Rings guy.
But apparently there was this bloodless revolution because no blood was shed, and it was all done. The enemy in this scenario had all of the political power, all of the fighting power, and one man harnessed the culture, the artists, the painters, the musicians, like the cultural aspect of their society, and they won the war simply through culture, through influencing people through culture. And
dang. That's powerful.
So yeah, after hearing that, I was like, wow, music is not just something that we get to listen to for fun. It is a tool. It is powerful way to get message across in a way that speech can't. There's some things that music can do that speech simply cannot do. Something that brutality and force simply cannot do. Like music has the power to influence a generation and to influence the world. And it's not something that we can just hold lightly anymore when we realize that. Like there's a weight to the responsibility of being a musician, being a songwriter, being an artist.
Yeah.
Your voice, it carries so much, and we don't realize that. Your voice is just so powerful. And yeah, I would encourage people listening today, like everything that you write, regardless of what genre you are, regardless of your faith, your words really matter. Every word that you say is producing subliminal messaging in the person that is listening to your music. And like when you realize that, it's like, wow, like as a Christian, I want every one of my songs, regardless if I'm mentioning God or not, because I do both, to have a message that is good and that is positive and that is keeping people awake. And that's edifying and glorifying to the Lord, regardless if I'm speaking about him or not in my music. It's just too important, especially in the day and age that we're living in.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So use your voice for truth, and to not don't compromise your values, and don't numb down what you're saying, but that's so good. Well, awesome. That was so good, Bella. Thank you so much. That was we went in so many cool directions, and that's really what I wanted today to be, just way more of an honest conversation kind of about the world at large, because things are kind of crazy right now. So I felt appropriate to kind of step back from just the music conversation. But yeah, for everybody watching and listening, where can we find you? Where can we listen to your music? All that.
Yes, I am on all social media channels at Isabella Erardi. Erardi is the last name.
Italian, baby. Let's go.
Mamma mia.
Mamma mia. She can say that.
Spaghetti. Meatballs.
Yeah. She speaks totally Italian.
No.
You should have heard her earlier. It's amazing.
You can also find me on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, YouTube, whatever you listen on. I'm out there at Isabella Erardi. And yeah, follow me because I'm releasing a lot of music this year.
Awesome. Yeah, she is. And maybe we might do a song. We'll see. TBD. We're low-key discussing it.
Pressure him.
Yeah. What'd you say?
Pressure Zach.
Pressure me. Pressure me, everybody.
And I get free production.
Yeah. No, just kidding. Possibly. We do a song together, I guess, free production. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for listening, watching. This is Better Not Wasted. This is so fun. Another episode, another dollar, as they say. Stay tuned for the next episode. I switched to every other week in the last few months, or the last month, because it was just way harder to do an episode every week. But yeah, this is episode 11, I think. Thanks so much for listening. Follow us on social media. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the whole thing. That I'm Not Wasted. And yeah, we'll see you next episode. Peace.
See ya.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe. Like, legit, I want to know your feedback. I want to know if you liked it, if you didn't like it, talk about different things, whatever you want. Just, send me messages, DM me on Instagram, Zach Wolf Music. Share this everywhere across your social media. That helps us grow. And stay tuned for the next episode. Let's go.